just cast out a couple of minutes ago. I'm on the canal and I had a bite. First cast, the rod tip went probably about 4 inches. It pulled round, not sure what it was, possibly a roach or a small chub even. I didn't connect with it, but that in itself is encouraging. I hope it's not all downhill though from now. It is a cold one. My thermometer, I think the battery's gone actually, as opposed to the device breaking. I hope that's the case anyway. But regardless of that, I can tell you that it is very cold indeed, both this side of the water and the other. I put my hand in to mix some brown crumb, a few maggots in there as well. I've put that out. I'm fishing a boat channel today, so this particular spot where I am, the boat channel is probably the best feature. It's the deeper water. My usual approach, the 6-foot rod that I've been fishing with recently, it suits my approach at the moment. It suits my lifestyle very much at the present time. I'm still quite busy. I've got a funeral to do later today. It's my mother-in-law actually. She passed away on the last day of October, and here we are in the second week of December, and we're just about to do the funeral. So up at first light, oh, and there's a little tap. I will have an hour or so on the canal. First light these days though is about 7:30. I did get up at 4:24 because I don't set the alarm. I got up at 4:24. I'm still getting those taps. I got up at 4:24. I had a look at the clock and then I drifted off back to sleep. No point in getting up at that time, certainly in the winter anyway, as we approach the shortest day of the year, and then it starts to improve. Not that you'll necessarily see that in the weather, of course, because we have January and February to come. They're particularly harsh months, usually, because you don't know what the weather forecast will be long range, and even if they give you one, it can change. I'll tell you what, it can change on a daily basis, can't it? Man has no control over the weather. Anyway, that bite has not developed into anything more substantial, but I'm going to reel in. And I thought I had a fish on then. Well, I had a small twig. Very, very encouraging indeed. 2 casts, 2 inquiries. Will it be a case, as they say, of third time lucky? I don't think this one is going to make the front pages of the angling press, but I'll tell you what, it's certainly a great fish as far as I'm concerned, because it means I'm not a blanker. And on a morning like today, weather-wise, this fish is a result. However, I would like to add a few more to the tally. Let's see how it goes. I've chosen my swim today very carefully. I'm fishing away from a loch. So if you are familiar with canals, although they are classed as still waters, nevertheless there is a flow on them, something that comes from the loch system itself. And as the water very, very gently makes its way along the canal for a number of yards, it then gradually becomes less of a flow, and there's a slight swirl in the water. And I can see that quite clearly because of the foam on the surface. That helps you to spot the flow and where it's going much more easily than if you're just looking with the naked eye. And where the water is just very, very gently turning around, that's where I'm putting my bait. There's not enough flow to make the fish have to work hard to keep up with the water, so to speak, like they do in a river, because they use up energy. But it's not dead water either. And if there is any food in the canal, that's where it will gradually work its way into. And a fish would rather, especially when the conditions are as they are today, a fish would rather wait for the food to come to them as opposed to going out to search it for themselves. So again, it's watercraft, isn't it? Thinking through your session carefully. I've fished every day so far in December. They've all been this type of session though, very short. Just making the most of the opportunities that I can create for myself. I've had, and I do make a note of the sessions, I've had 3 blanks I think, and therefore I've caught the other times. I went twice on one day when I was going to work and then on the way back. That was the 1st of December, I can remember that one. And I want to avoid the blanks if I can, because at the end of the day it's about catching fish, isn't it? That's why we go. But nevertheless, and more so as we hit December and January, February, you will get blanks. It's inevitable, especially if you're doing just a short session like I am today and like I have been doing during December. But as long as I can keep catching more than I don't, then I'm certainly happy. And as I've said on so many occasions, the great outdoors, you can't beat it, can you? Whatever the weather throws at us, just get out there and do your fishing. And one of the things that we are blessed with here in the UK is that we do get to appreciate the 4 seasons. I do like snow fishing, and since I moved a few weeks ago now, then I'm going to be able to get my car out a little bit more. I lived in my previous home just off the English watershed, just a few yards off the watershed, so obviously quite high. And when the snow came, we would have snow and you would drive 3 miles and you would drop down and there would be hardly any. Well, I've dropped down on this occasion, so I'm hoping that I can get my car out more when there is snow. And I'm getting another little tap there. That didn't look like a roach. That could possibly be a perch if it develops. Otherwise, I may never know. I'll tell you what, the conditions are quite bad in terms of the temperature, but nevertheless, as long as your bait's in the water, you've got a chance, and the fish are feeding. And I've already explained why I'm in the particular spot that I'm in, and not just the spot, but why I'm casting to that particular area as well. Thinking through your fishing sessions, not only before you go, but also when you get there as well. You have a look around and see what the lie of the land is, so to speak. Put your bait in the right place and you certainly increase your chances at this time of the year. Anyway, that one hasn't developed. I'm going to bring it in. It's not a sucked maggot, so could have been a perch. Be good if I've got some of those out there. They are my favourite fish after all, and whilst I'm happy to catch anything, if I'm honest, when the conditions are like this, if I can, I'd like to get some perch on the bank. This is my last cast, and it really is, because I do have to move on now. No more fish. Well, I've had small roach, but no other species. However, I'll tell you what, I'm more than happy with the short trip that I've made to the canal this morning. Remember that no matter how cold it gets, you'll never catch sitting at home by a warm fire, even though it may be a temptation, of course. If you love your fishing like I do, then you can't beat being there by the water's edge. And even when the odds are against you, a small fish can become a result. Out fishing, as I so often say, tight lines, but above all, enjoy.